Hey YouTube, it is your friendly neighborhood dungeon master Zach Hall here. We're going to do a quick video. We found out at the end of the last video, sorcerers, that there's two kind of sections slapped onto the end of the Pathfinder 2nd Edition Chapter 3 after all the classes. Thought it was just going to be one. Today we're going to do a quick video just looking at the animal companions and familiars section, and then next video we're going to look at archetypes, since that seems like it's going to take a lot more time to kind of cover multi-classing and all of the options there. There's probably going to be a lot more mechanical slog to get through, so I want to keep those things separate and keep our videos nice and clean and semi-organized. So today, quick video: animals, companions, and familiars. To be honest, I'm very excited about this section because I think it's important, because how animal companions are handled in D&D 5th edition, the where I am coming from, is handled really poorly, judged by basically everybody who's ever tried to play or DM 5th edition, especially what is it, the beast, what's it called, whatever ranger subtype that nobody plays, because the animal companion eventually ends up being kind of, what would you call it, unuseful. Unuseful. So today we're going to check out how Pathfinder 2nd Edition handles animal companions and familiars, and I'm very excited. I'm going to do this awkward thing because I'm kind of like not really lined up with my camera. So, wanna look good for you, chat. Wanna look good for you. Yeah, that works. All right, animal companions. Loyal comrade who follows your orders without needing to use handle an animal action on it, or handle an animal skill, it's a handle an animal action that is probably coming from some kind of animal handling skill, which we will check out in the next chapter. So not the video after this, but the one after that will be an entire video covering all of Chapter 4 skills. Your animal companion has the minion trait. It has 2 actions during my turn if I use the command an animal action to command it. This is in place of the usual effects of command an animal. If your companion dies, you can spend a week of downtime to replace it at no cost. You can only have one animal companion at a time. Right away, love how that is handled. You can trade one of your 3 actions on your turn to give your animal companion a command, and that companion has 2 actions that it can do. Perfect. There ends up being a mechanical benefit to having an animal companion. Conceivably, the amount of actions per turn you get increases from PC has 2 and your animal companion has 2. Love it. It's great. So there's riding. So there's a ton of different kinds of animal companions, which we have kind of seen in the class section, that it for the most part, it seems like you start out with a young animal companion, and then you can take feats that basically level up your animal companion from young to mature, to potentially other types of animal companions. That's how I understand it so far. So riding animal companions, you or an ally can ride your animal companion as long as it's at least 1 size larger than the rider. Hey, MinMax, thanks for hanging out. I'm very excited to check out these rules. It's going to be really good. If it is carrying a rider, the animal companion can only use its land speed, and it can't move and support you on the same turn. However, if your companion has the mount special ability, it's specially suited for riding and ignores both of those constituents. That makes sense. So there is a mechanical, there are mechanics for you riding an animal that is not technically a mount. But then there is also mechanics that benefit the animals that are specifically there and trained to act as a mount. Perfect. So young animal companions, which seems like the most basic and is generally what we start out with, which is always what I'm interested in. I always pretend like whatever campaign I'm going to play in is going to take me from level 1 to level 4, and that's it. Um, I try not to get terribly excited by things past 7 or 8 because almost no campaign I've ever played in has gotten that far. Unless you specifically start out at a higher level, which is valid but different. So and as you gain levels, you might make further adjustments as your companion becomes more powerful. Animal companion calculate their modifiers and DCs just as you do, with one difference. The only item bonuses they can benefit from are to speed and to AC. Maximum item bonus to AC is +2. Makes sense. Perception, acrobatics, and athletics. Perfect. And I'm assuming, depending on the actual physical form of the companion you take, that there will be different, probably you will end up with some different skills. But all young animal companions are trained in those skills, which is awesome. Animal companions can't use abilities that require greater intelligence, such as chorus or decipher writing, even if trained in the appropriate skill, unless they have a specialization that allows it. That'd be pretty crazy. Super awakened or super intelligent animal companion would be pretty dope. So, very interesting. They don't give ability scores to animal companions. They just give modifiers. Really interesting. +2 to strength, +2 dex, +1 con, -4 intelligence, +1 wisdom, 0 flat zeros of charisma. Perfect. Each type of animal has its own strengths and increases 2 of these modifiers by 1 each. These increases are already calculated into stat blocks in the companion types below. Okay. So we don't have to do the math in the stat block. The stat block already does it for us, but it's just kind of giving us where those stats are coming from. It's great. Hit points. Your animal companion has ancestry hit points from its type, plus a number of hit points equal to 6, plus its con mod for each level that you have. Perfect. I love that animal companions have an ancestry and get hit points from their ancestry just like any PC would, or any other monster would, I would assume, even though we haven't gotten to monster stat blocks yet. Even though everybody has told me monster stat blocks are really where Pathfinder 2nd edition starts to shine and you really start to see how the game is played. So I'm really excited to get to that section. And it gives you like 6 plus constitution modifier. It's the same as any unarmored, your spellcasters, like your sorcerers and wizards, all are, it's the same that they have, isn't it? Or is it 8? Maybe it's 8. No, I feel like it's 6. But that's great. And that seems about right for at least a young. I'm assuming that maybe those hit points go up as you go, I would assume, as you kind of increase in level. So to advance a young animal companion to a mature animal companion, usually a result of one of your class feat choices, which we have seen, increase its strength, dex, con, and wisdom modifiers by 1. Awesome. And then you increase its unarmed attack damage from 1 die to 2 die. What actual dice that is probably dependent on what, animal and what kind of attack they're doing. And proficiency for perception and saving throws all go to expert. That's very cool. Proficiency rank in intimidation, stealth, and survival is now trained. Very cool. And if it was already trained in one of those skills from its type, it goes to expert. Very cool. And it grows in size if it's medium or smaller to actually represent it growing. Very cool. So if you have a nimble, so to advance a mature animal companion to a nimble animal companion, increase its dex modifier by 2 and its strength, con, and wisdom modifiers by 1. Wow. So I'm assuming this is where it branches when you level up via feat a mature animal companion. You get the choice. Do you want to go nimble or do you go savage? I wonder if it's dependent on the animal, or if you can have a nimble and or savage of the same, bear. Could you have a nimble bear or a savage bear? But it looks like you're either choosing to increase dex by 2 or strength by 2. Everything else goes up by 1. For nimble, it deals 2 additional damage, just flat, added to the dice with its unarmed attacks. Acrobatics and unarmed defense to expert. Advanced maneuver for its type, which I'm assuming we'll see in stat blocks real quick here. Its attacks become magical for the purpose of ignoring resistances. I like that they eventually do get that, because that's important. I just don't like that it just kind of happens. But this is a problem I have in general with D&D. Like, there's no reason story-wise for these attacks to all of a sudden become magical. Like, if you're a ranger, you don't have any magic. Your beast companion, your animal companion, really shouldn't have any magic either. It's just, we're saying that it becomes magical because otherwise you're not going to be able, most of the animals you're going to be running into at this level, you're going to be really not doing very much damage if they aren't magical, and animals don't have access to magical items like a PC does, but we don't want to hamper our animal companions, so we just have to kind of say that they're magical. Which, I get why it's happening. I just wish there was a better reasoning behind it, that I could just trick my brain into accepting it as a fact. Like, yes, that makes sense. Similar to, I think it happened in our last video with sorcerers, or maybe wizards. Someone was able to kind of explain the drain an item action that seems to be very important to the wizard, and I didn't get it. You guys were able to explain it to me. So if there's anybody that has gotten a really great explanation for why non-magical claws all of a sudden become magical, even though no magic has been introduced at this point, I'll take it. So let's see if there's any difference. So savage, you do strength by 2, dex, con, and wisdom by 1, 3 additional damage instead of 2 to its unarmed attacks. Proficiency ranks in athletics to expert versus acrobatics. Oh, and savage animal, your unarmed defense doesn't level up to expert. It stayed at just trained. If you're advanced maneuver and then medium or smaller goes by 1 size. So everything. So savage, strength goes up by 2, 3 additional damage. Nimble, 2 to dex, 2 additional damage, and your unarmed defense goes up. And ideally, your AC is probably going up anyway because your dex is going up by 2. Companion types. So the species of animal you choose is called your companion's type. Each companion type has its own statistics. The size entry indicates your companion's starting size as a young animal companion. Following the size entry are the companion's unarmed attacks and then its ability mod. Hit points entry indicates the companion's ancestry hit points. Skill entry indicates an additional trained skill your companion has. Senses entry lists your companion's special senses, companion speed. Special entry, if present, lists any other special abilities your companion has, for example, whether it serves as a mount or is particularly appropriate for mounted classes such as the champion. Support benefit entry indicates a special benefit you gain by commanding the animal to use the support action. See below. And then advanced maneuver is what they get when they kind of level up to kind of their third evolution, if we're almost thinking in Pokemon terms. Helton in chat does note that it's possible that only champion and druid can get savage animal companion, so there might be a magical process to it. That would make sense. Like if that option was only available to the cloud or the champion and the druid, to magic casters, then I think that would make sense. But I have a feeling that rangers that are focusing on animal companions probably do have a feat that give them access to at least nimble and nimble nimble attacks are also considered magical for ignoring resistances. And it's fine. Like, I'm not complaining necessarily because it's everywhere. It's in 5th edition. It's in Pathfinder 2nd edition. I would assume that it's in D&D 3.5. I would assume it's in Pathfinder 1. It's just one of the things you have to do to make animal companions viable. And there's nothing you can really get around it unless you were creating almost like an item system for animal companions, which I wouldn't be against, but at this, like, you give like the sense of for a bird, like your companion's a type of bird that uses its beak or talons or something. Maybe they could, like, this is stupid, but like a bangle that is on their one of their talons or something, like that kind of thing. Like, and you could totally flavor that away to make sense when you take that feat to kind of level them up. It's just me being kind of a spoil sport. So the support action, you gain the benefits listed in the companion support benefit entry. If the animal uses the support action, the only other action it can use this turn are basic move actions to get into position to take advantage of the support benefits. And if it's already used any other action this turn, it can't support you. Yeah, that makes sense. So badgers, your badger, wolverine, or other big mustelid. They are small. They can make unarmed attacks with their jaws and do 1d8 piercing, or they can go with their claw, which is considered an agile attack, and do 1d6 slashing. Looks like badgers got a boost to wisdom and their constitution. 8 hit points. They get survival skill. They have low light vision and imprecise to 30-foot scent, which is very cool. 25 feet ground, or just like normal land speed. They can burrow 10 feet around or climb 10 feet. Then if they are supporting, the badger digs around your foe's position, interfering with its footing, and until the start of your next turn, if you hit and deal damage to a creature your badger threatens, the target can't use a step action unless it can step through difficult terrain until it moves from its current position. It then has the advanced maneuver Badger Rage, which is a single action. They can't do it if they're fatigued or raging. And the badger enters a state of pure rage. Guys, this is so good. I swear, if Wizards doesn't immediately steal this, I can't. Okay. This is exactly how. Sorry. But imagine I'm clapping really loud. This is exactly how animal companions should be done. Whew. Sorry. You're going to have a barbarian badger that goes into a rage. It deals 4 additional damage with its bite attacks and 2 additional attacks with its claw attacks. -1 penalty to AC. Can't use actions that have the concentrate treat unless they also have the rage treat. And then it can't rage again for a minute. Oh my gosh, this is so cool, guys. Oh man. I'm kind of freaking out about how amazing this is, because this is exceeding all of my expectations. Okay, let's go through. I'm so excited. Let's go through the rest of these animal companions. So bears are small because it's young, and then it would go to medium, and then it would even potentially get to large, I think. This means that you can't do what you can do in 5th edition, where you could be a small ancestry, get a medium-sized companion, and ride them like a mount at level 1, which I tried to pitch to one of my players in the current campaign for 5th edition that I'm running, just because I think it's rules as written and probably as intended, but pretty cool. Playing like a halfling ranger with a badger, that'd be pretty dope. So they're small. Bears can do 1d8 jaw attack or 1d6 claw attack. They get a bonus to strength and constitution. Strength's at a +3, which is strong. Strong bear. 8 hit points. Intimidation skill makes sense. Low light vision and scent. Same as the badger. 35 land speed. Support benefit. Your bear mauls your enemies when you create an opening until the start of your next turn. Each time you hit a creature in the bear's reach with a strike, the creature takes 1d8 slashing damage from the bear. If your bear is nimble or savage, that slashing damage increases to 2d8. That is genius. So you can either command your bear to move and make a strike on a different opponent if you're wanting to split up, but really what you most likely want to do is team up on the same target. You use one action to command your bear to support you. You both move in on the same target, and then you strike, and the bear is doing, like, you're still getting the damage as if your bear was taking its own action to strike. It's just only hitting, I guess, every time you hit. But most likely you're going to have the PC is going to have a better bonus to hit anyway. So you might as well. Like, it's so great. Freaking love it. All right, let's check out Bear Hug. Can't stand it. I'm smiling so big. Bear Hug action as the advanced maneuver. The bear's last action was a successful claw strike. The bear makes another claw strike against the same target. If the strike hits, the target's also grabbed as if the bear had successfully grappled the target. Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, birds, they're small. You can make a jaw, like beak, I guess. 1d6 piercing, or a talon, agile and finesse. 1d4 slashing. Bonus to dexterity and wisdom. Makes sense. 4 hit points. Oof. But stealthy. They have low light vision. They have 10 feet land speed, but a 60-foot fly speed. Then they can support you by pecking at your foe's eyes. When you create an opening, until the start of your next turn, your strikes that deal damage to a creature that your bird threatens also deal D4 persistent bleed damage, and the target's dazzled until it removes the bleed damage because the blood is coming from their face. If your bird is nimble or savage, that persistent bleed damage increases to 1d4. Flyby attack, advanced maneuver, the 2 actions, the bird flies and makes a talon strike at any point along the way. So if you had some enemies in a line, you could end up hitting multiple targets as they fly by. Love it. So you got your cats, such as a leopard or tiger, or maybe just a really big tomcat off the street. That's how I would do it. 1d6 jaws, claws, similar to talons from the bird. 1d4. They also get a boost to dexterity and wisdom. 4 hit points. Stealth. They have low light vision and scent. 35-foot land speed. Special. Your cat deals 1d4 extra precision damage against flat-footed targets. Super cool. Then support benefit. Your cat throws your enemies off balance when you create an opening until the start of your next turn. Your strikes that deal damage to a creature that your cat threatens make the target flat-footed. Interesting. That's cool. Cat pounce. The cat strides and then strikes, and is part of a single action. If it was undetected at the start of its cat pounce, it remains undetected after the attack. Very cool. Very stealthy. Wow, how many of these are there? Not a ton. We'll do these pretty quickly. Oh, let me check. Yeah, Octo mentioned how nasty that persistent bleed damage is. And you're right, I have not gotten to that section. So it takes a flat DC 15 check to get rid of that persistent bleeding damage. But from what I've heard, as I kind of started engaging with the Pathfinder online community, things like Reddit, Twitter, and stuff, I've seen people coming to Pathfinder 2nd Edition for the first time. Persistent damage, as in like bleeding damage, is one of those, one of the things that has been brought up a few times as a point of not frustration, but just like, holy shit, that can actually be really, really dangerous, especially at low levels. Like having access for your birds to, was it birds? Yeah. To do 1d4 persistent damage at level 1 seems honestly pretty crazy. Not, I wouldn't say overpowered necessarily. It's probably a little overpowered. It levels out as your PC level goes up and the kind of level of opponents you end up facing goes up. But at first glance, that's not glass cannons birds. Only 4 hit points, but I would imagine probably pretty hard to hit. Okay, Dromaeosaur. Oh, okay, so just in case you wanted a Velociraptor as an animal companion, we just went ahead and put it in the defaults just in case. You know, who doesn't want a Velociraptor as an animal companion? Wow. All right, 1d8 piercing or 1d6 slashing unarmed attacks. Bonus to dexterity and constitution, it looks like. Yeah. 6 hit points. Stealthy. Low light vision and scent. Senses 50 land speed. Support benefit. Your raptor constantly darts into flanking position. Till the start of your next turn, it counts as being in its space or an empty space of your choice within 10 feet. When determining you or your companion are flanking, and you can choose a different space for each of your attacks. I love how the support benefits basically give you a hint as to how you would want to be playing in most optimally in a encounter. So like, if you want to be the type of person constantly flanking, or having the benefit of having your opponents flanked, like whether you have a special feat or feature where giving you flanked or flat-footed, you know, those are things you should think about when picking your animal companion, or just pick whatever's fun. That's what I do like about Animal Companion and the way that they set it up. You can just pick whatever you would prefer. Getting back into frame. You can do whatever you would like to prefer just for flavor and the story. Or if you're wanting to optimize the shit out of your character, you can pick based on that. Both perfectly fine and great and encouraged ways to do it. So check out their darting attack. For a single action, the raptor can step up to 10 feet and then strike, or strike and then step up to 10 feet. Cool. Horses. They can be medium or large, so it lets you pick based on what size your PC is so that you can be appropriate size for a mount. You can do... Only attack they have is a hoof, 1d6 bludgeoning, which makes sense. They got a bonus to strength and constitution, which makes sense. 8 hit points. Survival skill. They have low light vision and scent. 40 land speed. Special is that they do have the mount trait. Support benefit adds momentum to your charge until the start of your next turn. If you moved at least 10 feet on the action before your attack, you can add a circumstance bonus to damage to that attack equal to twice the number of damage dice. So if I do 1d8 piercing damage with my normal attack, I can add 2 because it's 2 times the number of damage dice. But that's a great way of wording it because it gives a valid amount of damage and it scales with the amount of damage dice that you do. And then if your weapon already has the jousting weapon trait, that's the trait's damage is instead 2 per die instead of twice the number. So it's 2 then 4 instead of 2. So it would be, I guess it gains, not really exponentially, 2 per die. So if I did 1d8, it would be 2 additional damage. If I did 2d8, it would be 4. If I do 3d8, it would be 6. Isn't that the same? Isn't 2 per die the same as twice the number of damage dice? Is that covered in errata, maybe? Because that seems like the exact same thing. Twice the number of damage dice is the same as 2 per die. I wonder if it's supposed to be 3 instead by covering errata. You know what? I'm going to quickly check the Pathfinder 2 errata and see if that's... Where is it? There it is. Just give me a link to it. Oh my gosh. Sorry, gang. My Googling failed me and I just clicked on a bunch of the wrong things. I can put this over here for us to check out. That probably makes sense. Animal companions. It looks like there is some errata for animal companions and familiars. Max item bonus went from +2 to +3. An animal companion has the same level you do, which I guess I didn't say. And then an ambusher removed it gains. Oh yeah. They don't roll their own initiative, so there's no sense in getting a bonus to initiative rolls. So it wasn't covered in errata. So if someone's, oh, it's 2 per die. I don't know. Add a circumstance bonus to that attack equal to twice the number of damage dice. If your weapon already has the jousting weapon trait, increase the trait's bonus damage to 2 per die instead. I have to imagine that's wrong. 2 per die plus the die. Right, yeah. So I know that it's like if I do 1d8 with a jousting weapon, I roll and do my normal, and then I would just add 2 on top of it. But it seems like twice the number of damage dice is the same as 2 per die instead. So that seems like errata to me. I'm going to do a quick DuckDuckGo search. Pathfinder 2E, Animal Companion, Joust benefit. And see if no. That's... Don't see anything right away. It's possible that Googling is... Well, I might actually use Google instead of DuckDuckGo. See. Oh, so buy 2 per damage die. So it's not... So, okay. All right. We figured it out. Increase the damage by 2 per die. So instead of being twice the number of damage dice, it is 3. There should be 3 points of damage per damage dice instead of just 2, because you're increasing it by 2. Convoluted AF way to word it. Could probably be more clear, but it makes sense. Moving on, the gallop action, advanced maneuver, 2 actions. It can stride twice. It strides twice at a 10-foot circumstance bonus to speed. So you can move very quickly. Snake, it's small. You can do 1d8 piercing damage with its jaws. It got a bonus to dexterity and strength, 6 hit points, stealth skill, low light vision and scent, 20 feet of land movement, but 20-foot climb movement and 20-foot swim movement. The snake can hold your enemy with its coils, interfering with reactions. Till the start of your next turn, any creature your snake threatens can't use reactions triggered by your actions unless its level is higher than yours. That makes sense. Advanced maneuvers constrict, a single action. The snake already has a snake or a smaller creature grabbed. It can deal 12 bludgeoning damage to the grabbed creature. Creature must attempt a basic fortitude save. If the snake is a specialized animal companion, increase this damage to 20. That's a baller. Very cool mechanical benefit to being a snake. And then wolf, which also covers dogs, so that's cool. Jaw, like a jaw attack, 1d8 piercing, got a bonus to constitution and dexterity, 6 hit points, survival skill, low light, vision and scent, 40-foot land speed, very cool. Your wolf tears tendons with each opening. Till the start of your next turn, strikes that damage creatures your wolf threatens. Give the target a negative 5-foot status penalty to its speeds for 1 minute. Negative 10 on a critical success on your attack. Very cool. And then it's knockdown, advanced maneuver for a single action. If your last action was a successful jaw strike, you can immediately knock the target of its jaw strike prone. Super cool. All right, let's do specialized animals. This video did not turn out to be as short as I thought it was going to be, but that's because animal companions are awesome and deserve all of our love and respect and support. Specialized animal companions are more intelligent and engage in more complex behaviors. The first time an animal gains a specialization, it gains the following: proficiency rank for unarmed attacks increased to expert, saving throws and perception increased to master, dexterity mod by 1, intelligence mod by 2, so it's now a -2 instead of a -4. Unarmed attack damage increases from 2 dice to 3 dice, and it increases its additional damage with armed attacks from 2 to 4 or 3 to 6. Each specialization grants additional benefits. Most animal companions can only have 1. So if they are an ambusher, it can use a sneak action even if it's currently observed in their natural environment. +2 circumstance bonus to... They don't have to worry about that initiative rolls. We saw in Errata a few minutes ago that they striked that because they act on your own turn. They don't roll their own independent initiative, which I think is smart and a good way to just keep encounters straightforward as possible. Dexterity modifier increases by 1 in addition to the one it already got. Proficiency rank for unarmed defense expert or master if it's a nimble companion. So it can be an ambusher nimble. Oof. Bully, they terrorize foes with dominance and pushes them around the field. Proficiency ranks for athletics and intimidation increased to expert or master. Strength mod increases by 1 and charisma modifier increases by 3 to make it a 3 flat. Or +3 total, and to really hone in on those intimidation rolls. Daredevil joined the fray with graceful leaps and dives. Gains the deny advantage ability, so it isn't flat-footed to hidden, undetected, or flanking creatures unless such a creature's level is greater than yours. Proficiency rate in acrobatics increases to master, and its dex modifier increases by 1. Proficiency ranked in on-run defense increases to expert or master if it's nimble. Racer plus 10-foot stats bonus to its speed, swim speed, or fly speed, your choice. Proficiency in fortitude saves increases to legendary. Ooh. And its constitution modifier increases by 1. Tracker. Companion's incredible tracker can move at full speed while following tracks. Its proficiency rank in survival goes to expert or master. As wisdom mod increases by 1. Wrecker. Companion smashes things. Its unarmed attacks ignore half an object's hardness. And its athletics proficiency increases to master, and its strength mod increases by 1. Super cool. This is absolutely this is exactly what I wanted from animal companions. I'm not going to say that Dungeons and Dragons should just upright and steal this, because I don't think it's fair. Like, it's really easy to compare these two games, and I think that can be a worthwhile thought experiment. But I think it's clear that with Paizo releasing Pathfinder 2e, and from what reading I have done to see like the differences between Pathfinder 1e and 2e, that they're really wanting to make it its own game for the most part. And so I will not say that this is, and I don't think that just because Paizo and Pathfinder, because of the success of 5th edition, is now kind of playing second fiddle where it used to be the main game in terms of popularity pre 5e. I don't think there is an inherent one that we should follow blindly and just trust one above the other. They can both do their own thing, and we can fanboy one or the other, but I probably won't fanboy either. Check up. Knockdown is really strong. I agree, knockdown is really strong, Helton. Mainly because everybody attacking that main target is going to gain benefit from it. So if you're dealing with a large party, that knockdown is going to be pretty huge. Any target prone regardless of size. That, yeah. Seems like an oversight. Like, if I was writing it, I would say it automatically knocks a target of up to 2 sizes larger than the wolf's size. But I would imagine that they counteract this with either a blanket statement for certain monsters, or that like certain monsters are just going to have an immunity to the prone status that would kind of take that edge away of like, my wolf should not be able to knock an ancient dragon prone. But I would imagine it's because the dragon will probably end up having an immunity to the prone condition. Yeah. You're right, Octo. This is more bookkeeping than Wizards would want once for 5e. But I think anybody that looks at 5th edition, especially the Beast Conclave Ranger, I think is what it's called, like the Ranger that you get an animal companion at level 3. One, it's dumb that you spend the first 2 levels without having an animal companion, and all of a sudden a bear walks up to you in the middle of the city, if that happens to be where you're at when you level up to level 3. It's like, what happens if you level up in the middle of a dungeon from levels 2 to 3? You pick the Beast Conclave subclass at level 3, and you wake up in the middle of the dungeon and a black bear has walked in and decided to be your best friend. It's just like, if I was a DM, like if I was DMing a situation like that, I would tell that ranger, you already have a beast, like your bear is already a companion to you. It's just not going to be an animal companion in the sense of your class until level 3, but that's not spelled out in the rule books. And so any starting DM would not necessarily, like if they pick up 5th edition for the first time and it's their first tabletop role-playing game, I could see that being an immersion story breaking instance that would be a bother to me if I was just reading and trying to figure out how to run the game. I agree that this is obviously more definitely more bookkeeping than 5th edition has generally had, and I think there is probably a compromise for the 5th edition ranger that is somewhere between what currently exists and what exists here in Pathfinder 2e. Maybe you don't have specializations, and maybe maybe you get rid of the advanced maneuver, but even just giving, the only thing that 5th edition needs, I think, for animal companions is being able to, in 5th edition, with their attack or with their action, bonus action, I would say you can use your bonus action to command your animal companion, and then you both get an action. That's probably what I would do. Agreed. Helton, that subclass feature, Ranger, in my opinion, Ranger should just be one of those classes that you pick something at level 1, not level 3. That's how I would do it, but it's okay. That's why homebrew exists for 5th edition. If your DM and table allows it, there's some great Ranger variants out there that I think fit what most players would want, or you can just avoid it and don't use an animal companion in 5e and everything's fine. All right, let's check out familiars really quick. This has turned into almost an hour-long live stream. Not what I intended. Familiars are mystically bond creatures tied to your magic. Most familiars were originally animals, though the ritual becoming a familiar makes them something more. You can choose a tiny animal you want as your familiar, such as a baby cat, raven, or snake. Some familiars are different, usually described in the ability that granted you a familiar. For example, a druid's leshy familiar is a tiny plant instead of an animal, formed from a minor nature spirit. They have the minion trait, so during an encounter, they gain 2 actions in a round if you spend an action to command them. If your familiar dies, you can spend a week of downtime to replace it at no cost. You can only have 1 familiar at a time, so all that's pretty much the same except for size. As an animal companion, so familiar's save modifiers and AC are equal to yours before applying circumstance or status bonuses or penalties. That's interesting. So the same AC as yours, I guess, with the assumption that maybe your familiar isn't necessarily going out and doing something. No, because I mean, one of the big points of having for example, going in the Leshy route for a druid is, you're essentially gaining an additional person to get actions. So we'll see. Perception, acrobatics, and stealth modifiers are equal to your level plus your spellcasting ability modifier. Okay. So they aren't necessarily trained in skills. Charisma, if you don't have one, unless otherwise specified, that makes sense. And it's more a representation of where you are at as an individual, which makes sense. It doesn't have or use its own ability modifiers and can never benefit from item bonuses. So basically what I just said. So it's 5 hit points for each of your levels. It is tiny. Your familiar has low light vision and can gain additional senses from familiar abilities. It could communicate empathically with you for as long as it's within a mile of you. Wow, sharing emotions. That is a lengthy distance. It doesn't understand or speak languages normally, but it can gain speech from a familiar ability. Either has 25 land speed or swim speed. Gain 1. Wait. Yeah. Land speed of 25 or swim speed of 25. Don't know why you would pick swim. Yep, not sure. Familiars gain item bonuses from stuff like armor and to AC saves. Yes. Yeah. So your armor, yes. Isn't that right? Equal to yours before applying circumstance or status bonuses. Yeah. So if I'm wearing armor, I story wise, it's your familiar's armor. But I think it's almost like Paizo conceding a bit of bookkeepiness just to say it's equal to your AC. Familiar. Each day you channel your magic into 2 abilities, which can either be familiar or master abilities. If your familiar is an animal that naturally has one of these abilities, for instance, an owl has a fly speed, you must select that ability. Your familiar can't be an animal that naturally has more familiar abilities than your daily maximum familiar abilities. Okay. So it can be, you can give it an amphibious swim speed or a burrow speed or a climb speed or a damage avoidance. It takes no damage when it succeeds at that type of save. Okay. Dark vision, fast movement, flyer, kin speech. It can understand and speak with animals of the same species. To select this, so for your familiar must be an animal and must have the speech ability, and you must be at least 6th level. Okay. Lab assistant. It can use your quick alchemy action, which would be great for alchemists. I would imagine most alchemists who opt into a familiar feat would want them to have the lab assistant ability. Manual dexterity, it can use up to 2 of its limbs. Ooh, as if they were hands. I love how it says up to 2 of its limbs as if they were hands. Like if you end up with like an octopus familiar, that'd be pretty crazy. Same for mage armor, since it gives an item bonus. Oh, so they also benefit. Aha, that's smart and cool. Thank you for pointing that out, Octo. Scent, again, scent and precise 30 feet. Speech, it can understand and speak a language you know. Cool. So, I mean, obviously some mechanical benefits there, though I see some obvious, like, if it's an owl, you have to do fly speed, apparently. So you're never going to get the option to be able to speak with it until you are able to give them multiple. Well, no, you can channel into 2 abilities. They can be either familiar or master abilities. So you could do 2 familiar abilities, I would assume. It's just one of them would be for like an owl that has a fly speed. Master abilities, cantrip connection. You can prepare an additional cantrip, or if you have a repertoire, designate a cantrip to add to your repertoire every time you select this ability. So you get an extra cantrip. You can get some extra regents because the familiar grows some on its body. You gain an additional batch of infused regents. Familiar focus. Your familiar can use 2 actions with the concentrate trait to regain a focus point up to your usual maximum. Lifelink. If your familiar will be reduced to 0 hit points by damage, as a reaction with the concentrate trait, you can take the damage instead. If you do, you take all the damage and the familiar takes none. However, if special effects, when a hit damages your familiar, such as snake venom, still apply it to your familiar. Okay. Spell battery, you gain an additional spell slot at least 3 levels lower than your highest. Spell delivery, if your familiar is in your space, you can cast a spell with a range of touch, transfer its power to your familiar, command the familiar to deliver the spell. If you do, the familiar uses its 2 actions for the round to move to a target of your choice and touch that target. If it doesn't reach the target to touch it with this turn, the spell has no effect. That's cool. I think we see that in 5th edition, but I like it. All right. That's it for animal companions and familiars. 2 enthusiastic thumbs up from this dungeon master game master on how Pathfinder 2e handles especially animal companions. They seem viable, they seem customizable, they seem worthwhile, and it makes sense. It just makes sense. And there's a feat that gives you more familiar abilities on some classes. Awesome. Yeah, so that makes sense. I bet the witch probably has a pretty strong subclass, like with like managing a familiar. The witch is in a playtest right now. If we want to do a kind of off video covering playtest, let me know. Thank you, everybody who came in and hung out to check out this video. I promised short. You should know by now. Whenever I promise short, they end up being really, really long. Next video, we're going to be covering archetypes, how Pathfinder 2e handles multi-classing, and then we are checking out Chapter 4, skills. So if you're looking forward to either of that content or just more stuff from me, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below to make sure you get to see those videos or get a notification whenever I go live. Since I am now tending to go live, it's a way more fun way to read these PDFs than trying to... I normally don't have to do much editing anyway. So bing, bang, boom. Subscribe if you liked this video. Go ahead and hit that like button. Leave a comment if I fudged something up or your favorite animal companion type. Let's find that out. What animal companion would you take either in real life or your PC and whatever game you're running right now? Thank you so much for hanging out. We will see you next time. Bye.